Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Danut Pranams. Thank you very much for joining in for our Srimad Bhagavatam study session. Let's quickly start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो पङ्कजनाभाय नमो पङ्कजमालिने नमो पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रये पाहि पाहि महायोगीन् देवदेव जगत्पते नान्यं त्वादभयं पश्ये यत्र मृत्यु परस्परम् कृष्ण कृष्ण महाबाहो भक्तानामभयङ्करा त्वमेको धैर्यमानानाम् अपवर्गोऽसि संश्रुतेः ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रधायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्युषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्यमीश्वरं हरिः ओं तत्सत् गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः आराध्य भगवान् ब्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनं रम्या काचित् उपासना व्रजवधू वर्गेण वा कल्पिता श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेमाप्पुमर्तो महान् श्रीचैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतमिदं तत्र दरनापरा. Continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam study 1.7.34 onwards. So in yesterday we were discussing about how Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya and Kripi, right? Kripi is the sister of Kripacharya, right? Although born of a Brahmana father, yet his activities and his thoughts, because thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to behavior, behavior leads to character, and character leads to our personality, right? What we are made up of. So like that, we see that by the action and behavior of Ashwathama, he cannot be considered as a Brahmana. He is therefore considered as a Brahma Bandhu, right? Someone who is related to a Brahmana but does not have the qualities of a Brahmana, right? And this discussion is going on between Krishna and Arjuna, when Arjuna is asking Krishna, right, what is this light that's suddenly coming? At the same time, it's very gloomy, right? As if the entire destruction is going to take place. And then Krishna tells Arjuna, this is because of the Brahmastra released by Ashwathama. You release a Brahmastra to contract it, and Arjuna releases the Brahmastra. Then that also adds on to the damage. And then what does Arjuna do? Arjuna is intelligent, right? To just follow the instructions of Lord Krishna, he retracted both the Brahmastras. Okay, let's continue from text number 34. Now Ashwathama is going to get punished, right? Ashwathama is defeated by Arjuna. Now he's going to be punished. How? By he is going to be taken to Draupadi, right? And the rest of the chapter is talking about the merciful nature of Draupadi, right? She does not want Kripi, the mother of Ashwathama, to go through the same pain that she herself underwent because of the loss of her son. Right? And Prabhupada explains that is the nature of a devotee. A devotee is so compassionate. That is the nature of a devotee, like that. All right. So let's continue reading text number 34. Yeah, text number 34. Shibiraya ninishantam rajva badvari pumbalat praharjunam prakopito bhagavan ambujekshanaha. Karpakavali Mataji, go ahead. Synonyms.
Hare Krishna, am I audible, Mataji?
Let's go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Sibariya, on the way to the military camp, in his santam, while bringing him Rajivya by the ropes, Badwa bound up, repelled the enemy, Balak by force, Praha said Arjuna unto Arjuna, Prabhupita in an angry mood, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Ambuja Ikshana, who looks with the lotus eye. Translation purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. After binding Ashwathama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eye, spoke to angry Arjuna. Both Arjuna and Lord Krishna are described here in an angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of the Lord were like lotuses. This means the angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord is transcendence, and thus he is absolute in any state. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of qualitative material nature. Because he is absolute, both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if he is angry, the object of anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So even when the demons get killed by Lord Sri Krishna, what happens to the demons? The demons get liberated, right? Whether it is Kamsa or whether it is Jarasandha, whether it is Shishupal, right? All of them, right? Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, all of them, they all got liberated because the anger of the Lord is also having this purifying effect, right? It's not like mundane anger, which is caused due to a revenge motive or for a sense gratification motive, right? I want something, but I have something, but I don't, but I'm not getting it. So what will I do? I will use all means of weapons, whether it is thievery, whether it is anger, whether it is whatever, to get what I want. It's like that, right? But the Lord's anger is not like that, right? Because the Lord's anger also helps to purify us. When the Lord gets angry, or even for that reason, even devotees, if they get angry, right? In this particular scenario, there is a reason why Arjuna's anger is said to be in the modes of material nature. Why? Arjuna is also a pure devotee of the Lord. How is it that Arjuna's anger is in the three modes? Why? Because Arjuna is teaching a lesson to all of us. And the Lord wants to teach a lesson to all of us. What is the difference between the anger of the Jiva and the anger of Krishna? Right? But in a normal perspective, even when a devotee acts in particular situations, right? We have Narada Muni who got very angry and he cursed Nalakuvera and Manigriva. What happened to Nalakuvera and Manigriva? They actually became recipients of the Lord's mercy by becoming trees in the courtyard of Lord Sri Krishna, right? In the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. right? So when the devotees, they get angry also, what happens? It is also beneficial for the particular person who is getting punished also. Even if that person has fallen and if he gets punished by a devotee, then such kind of punishment enables us to grow out of our tamoguna or rajoguna, right, and establish us in satvaguna so that we can perform service to the Lord, and slowly we grow up to the level of Shuddha Sattva. So here there is a particular contrast that is drawn between Arjuna and Lord Sri Krishna. Both of them are seeing the Brahmastra, both of them are seeing Ashwathama, right, doing such kind of heinous acts, and both of them are angry. But the Lord's anger is not depicted in his face because there is no personal anger. The anger of the Lord is also because of the love that he has for the particular jiva, and his anger is also going to give purification for the particular person, whoever the Lord is angry at. Or even in our dealings, we can also see that whenever a senior devotee is angry with us, we should take that as a mercy of the senior devotee and follow the instructions of the senior devotee. In that way, our heart will get purified. Yeah, that's what is the main purport of this particular verse, wherein Prabhupada is saying there is a difference between transcendental anger and material anger. Transcendental anger is for the purification of the other person. The person is calm inside, right? On top there are some ripples which are seen, which is just to make the other person become aware that what he is doing is wrong. Whereas a material anger is for my own sense gratification, for my own demands of the body or the mind or the senses. I am acting in anger to get something, or because I am not getting something, I am getting angry. So that is a contrast here between transcendental anger and material anger. Text number 35. Mainam partarhasi tratum brahmabandhum imam jahi. Yo asap anagashah suktan avadin nishi balakan. All right. Deval Mataji, go ahead. Synonyms.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Tanvat Synonyms: Ma enam, never unto him; Partha, O Arjuna; Arhasi, ought to; Tratum, give; release; Brahmabandhum, a relative of Brahmana; Imam, him; Jahi, kill; Yaha, he who has; Asau, those; Anaghasaha, faultless; Suptan, while sleeping; Avadhit, killed; Nishi, at night; Balakan, the boys. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shri Krishna said, O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing his relative of a Brahmana, Brahmabandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep. The word Brahmabandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in the family of a Brahmana but is not qualified to be called a Brahmana is addressed as the relative of a Brahmana and not as a Brahmana. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm in addressing a high court judge's son as a relative of the honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmana simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. As a high court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of a Brahmana is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that if good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family other than that of a Brahmana, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmana is void of Brahmanical qualification, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmana, or in better terms, a relative of a Brahmana. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences, and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following shlokas. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Danat Pranam.
Thank you, Danat Pranam. Yeah, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashah. So Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam, all the four varnas have been created by me, right? Gunakarma Vibhagashah, and these are not determined by birth. Just because somebody is born in a Brahminical family, like Prabhupada gives example here of a high court judge, right? Simply by being born as a son of a high court judge will not qualify one person to become a high court judge, right? What should that person do? That person should acquire the qualifications of becoming a high court judge, right? What is the qualification? He has to study law, he has to pass that, and then he has to practice law, isn't it? So according to his qualities and according to the actions, one has to become qualified for that particular position. Just like that, a person who is born in a Brahminical family, although may have interest towards becoming a Brahmana, but if he does not go through that education process and of the study of the Vedas and that power of discrimination, what is right, what is wrong, and living his life according to the qualities with which a Brahmana has to live his life, then such a person is called a Brahma Bandhu. That means he is called a relative of a Brahmana and he cannot be called a Brahmana himself. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead. Yeah, and while a Brahmana should not be killed, the Brahma Bandhu can be killed. Right? Brahma Bandhu is not a Brahmana, and one of the 6 kinds of aggressors, right? Prabhupada mentions in the purport of the verse in Bhagavad Gita also. Right? This Ashwatthama has killed the 6 sons of Draupadi. Right? The 5 sons of Draupadi. So, he is also an aggressor, one who actually kills. Without any reason, or without being a judge or anything like that, without having the authority, right? Such a person is okay to kill such a person who is an aggressor. So in this case, Krishna is telling Arjuna, no need to leave Ashwatthama thinking him to be a Brahmana. He is a Brahma Bandhu, he is not a Brahmana, and he's performed a heinous act, he is an aggressor, so you have to kill him. Text number 36. Mattam pramattam unmattam suptam balam striyam jadam prapannam viratam bhitam naripum hanti adharmavet. Very, very wonderful. See the 3 words. Mattam pramattam unmattam. Mattam means careless. Careless means I know what is right and what is wrong, but because of my careless attitude, I'm not doing what is right. Pramattam means intoxicated. Mada. That means I think I'm this body. Right? That is the state in which we are all in. Pramattam. That means we don't have full knowledge, but we think that I am this body. Whatever is attached to this body is mine. Right? Aham mameti. Unmattam means completely insane. Completely insane means I will do anything and everything just for my purposes to get fulfilled. So these can be explained like the 3 analogies that are given by Prabhupada in purport to Bhagavad Gita. One is like dust in the mirror. Right? A mirror is filled with dust. What happens? Very easily. If you just take a cloth and clean the mirror, we'll be able to see ourselves very easily. The second level is smoke and fire. Right? The smoke has enveloped so much, fire is not seen at all. But the presence of smoke tells us that there must be fire somewhere nearby. There cannot be smoke without fire. Right? But the fire is not burning adequately. Because of that, the smoke is more prominent. Right? Even when we do yajnas, we can see. Right? That then when the fire becomes less and less, there is more smoke, and then the eyes start burning, tears coming out, and everything. That's when then what is the yajna, the person who's performed yajna does? He pours more ghee on the fire, and then what happens? The fire starts burning more. When the fire starts burning more, smoke reduces. Right? So that is the second level. At least that is okay. At least the fire is there. So we need to add more ghee, so fire starts burning more. The third level, which is completely insane level, right? What is that? That is like the child in the womb. No consciousness at all. That is completely insane status, right? There is no hope, or there is a huge amount of work to be done to revive one's consciousness as a servant of the Supreme Lord. Because one is too much insane means what? Thinking oneself as a doer. I have to enjoy. I. That is the consciousness of a person who actually is in the stage of unmattam, or one who is completely insane. That's like the consciousness of a child in the womb, like that. Okay, so let's move ahead and study this verse. Very, very wonderful verse. Prabhupada gives a very beautiful lecture in this particular verse. Mattam pramattam unmattam suptam bhalam striyam jadam prapannam viratam bhitam na ripum hanti dharmavet. Yeah. Shobha Mataji, go ahead. Mataji, start with the synonyms, Mataji. And then Sarva Gopishri Mataji can do, and then Subbarao Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandaprana. Mattam careless, pramattam intoxicated, unmattam insane, suptam asleep, thalam boy, striyam woman, jadam foolish, prapannam surrendered, viratam one who has lost his chariot, bhitam afraid, no not ripum enemy, hanti kill, dharma with one who knows the principles of religion. Translation: a person who knows the principles of religion does not kill any enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. Purport: an enemy who does not resist is never killed by a warrior who knows the principles of religion. Formerly, battles were fought on the principles of religion and not for the sake of sense gratification. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of selfish political leaders. It was carried out on religious principles, free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principle is far superior to so-called non-violence. Dandavats Mataji, Haribol. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So violence committed on the basis of scriptures, right? So we all know how Buddha incarnated. right? To actually, because everybody was thinking that in the Shastras it is permitted. From the Shastras only they took this what do you call conclusion. They arrived at this conclusion that it is okay to kill animals basis the scriptures, right? At that particular point in time, the Brahmanas were so qualified that they used to chant a mantra and then they used to give human sacrifice. I mean, sorry, they offer goat and sacrifice to Kali Devi. And then what happens when that goat is offered to Kali Devi? And then they used to take that remnants, right? Only on Amavasya Day or something. But then that goat, which is being sacrificed, will get a human form immediately. The goat does not have to go through the cycle of evolution, right? From one prani to another prani, right? 8.4 million species, right? The best form of species is the human species. Why? Because we have the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, right? But then what did people do? Common people, they think that okay, all these people are cutting. Now in the Kali Yuga also, what were people thinking? In the scriptures it is given that it is okay to kill animals and you eat them for sense gratificatory purposes. And that's the reason the Lord incarnated as Buddha. And he actually practiced the principles of non-violence. He actually took people away from the Shastras, right? Telling them that it is okay one should practice non-violence and not unnecessarily kill other animals for one's own sense gratification. So in that way, the Lord appears to fulfill certain principles at some points in time when the world becomes extremely focused on sense gratification. People do anything and everything for just the whims of their tongue or their belly, like that. Yeah. So in this case, it is mentioned that violence on the basis, it is better to engage in non-violence rather than carry out violence for one's own sense gratification, right? That's what is mentioned here, right? And that's what is the principle that even Buddha enunciated at that particular point in time, seeing that people were using the terms of the Vedas for their own sense gratification. Text number 37. Swaprananya parapranai prapushnaati agranah kalah tadvedastasya hi shreyo yaddoshat yati adaha puman. Sarvagopi Mataji, go ahead. Synonyms.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Synonyms. Swapranan, one's own life. Yeah. One who, para pranaihi, at the cost of others' life. Prapushnati, maintains properly. Agnaha, shameless. Kalaha, rich. Tat vadaha, killing of him. Tasya, his, he, certainly. Shreyaha, well-being, yet by which, dosat, by the fault, yahi, yati, goes. Adaha, downwards, puman, a person. Hare Krishna.
Your translation.
Translation purport by the proper teacher. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' life deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. Purport. A life for a life is just a punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murder is condemned to a death sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in his next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him. And it is said in the Smriti Shastra that men who are punished by the king on the principle of a life for a
life for a life here.
For a life are purified all their sins, so much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer, because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by the party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. He who gives permission he who kills the animal, he who sells the slaughtered animals, he who cooks the animal, he who administers the distribution of the foodstuff, and at last, he who eats such a cooked animal food are all murderers. And all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there just to restrict the opening of slaughterhouse and not to encourage animal killing. The procedure under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good both for the animal sacrifice and the animal eaters. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrifice animal is at once promoted to the human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar. And the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sin, eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are
ghastly places.
one second. Which are slaughterhouse, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material affection to the society, country, and the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxiety, and by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. Hare Krishna Mataji, is that what pronounced?
Thank you so much, Mataji. Right, so we see yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we see here that again this all of this famine, flood, everything, they all come, right, because we are exploiting material nature, and there is a certain level beyond which the earth also starts revolting, isn't it? So we see here that the recent COVID and the fire and the famine, the earthquakes and everything are nature's way of telling that people are not living according to dharmam, to sakshat bhagavat pranitam, according to rules and regulations set by the Lord. When Prabhupada says even if 10% of the people they follow proper rules and regulations and become pure devotees of the Lord, then the whole world will become a good place, right? But when the maximum population, they all become terrorists and they all exploit material nature and everything, then earth also, Bhumi Mata also, she has no other way but to show her unhappiness through all of these floods and famines and all of these things. So that we also understand, we also go through the pain of what is gone through by others, because we are simply living our life for sense gratification, and we are, especially these kind of instances are like kind of reminders for us, right, that this material world is not a place for enjoyment. This material world is a place for reformation and purification, and this place is eternally miserable, right, or to the extent it is we are living, it is always causing us pain, and it will continue to cause us pain. So we cannot expect satisfaction and happiness in this material world. These are all reminders of that truth, that this place is dukhalayam and ashashvatam, like that. Pratishrutam cha bhavata panchalyai shrinvato mama aharishye shirastasya yaste manini putraha. Okay, synonyms. Yeah, Subara Prabhu, go ahead.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Pratishrutam. Promised.
Pratishrutam. It is promised. Cha and bhavata. By you. Panchalyai unto the daughter of the king of Panchala, that is Draupadi. Srinvataha, which was heard, mama, by me, personally, aharishye, must I bring, shira, the head, tasya, of him, ya, whom, te, your, manini, consider, putraha, the killer of your sons. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons.
Text 39. Tataso vadyatam papa atattai atmabandhuha bhartuscha vipriyam veera kritavan kula pamsanaha. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
Synonyms. That therefore, asau, this man, vadhyatam, will be killed, papaha, the sinner, atatai, assaulter, atma, own, bandhuha, killer of sons, bhartuhu, of the master, cha, also, vipriyam, having not satisfied, veera, O warrior, kritavan, one who has done it, kula pamshana, the burnt remnants of the family. Translation: this man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of the family. Kill him immediately. Purport by Divange Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Prabhupada. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. The good name of Dronacharya was very much respected. Although he joined the enemy camp, Pandavas held him always in respect, and Arjuna saluted him before beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that way. But the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which are never done by the Dvijas or the twice born higher caste. Aswathama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfies his master Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous act of the killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that Aswathama became an assaulter of Arjuna's own family members, and thus he was liable to be punished by him. In the Shastras, he who attacks without notice or kills from behind or sets fire to another's house or kidnaps one's wife is condemned to death. Krishna reminded Arjuna of these facts so that he might take notice of them and do the needful.
Yeah. So these are the 6 kinds of aggressors that Prabhupada also mentions in the purport to the Bhagavad Gita verse, right? So again, here Ashwathama is being caught, Ashwathama has been defeated, right? But Arjuna and Krishna, they are actually taking him back to Draupadi because Draupadi's sons were killed by Ashwathama. So what is the decision that Draupadi is going to take? That we will see in the next couple of verses. Whereas Draupadi is going to think that he is a son of Dronacharya, he is our guru, so we should not be killing. And secondly, she also feels compassion for Kripi, right? The mother of Ashwathama should not have the same misery, should not go through the same misery that I am going through because of the death of my 5 sons. Right? So in that way, Draupadi wants Ashwathama to be released, but Krishna and Arjuna are both, Arjuna is deciding based on instruction from Krishna. And Krishna is very clear that that Ashwathama has to be killed because he is an aggressor, he is not even a Brahmana, he is just a Brahma Bandhu, and he is clearly an aggressor, so he has to be killed. So let's continue next Monday as we continue with this chapter 7 on what will be done to Ashwathama, right? Whose decision will be followed, whether it will be Draupadi or whether it will be Lord Krishna, and how would Arjuna act in a way that's pleasing to both Draupadi as well as Lord Sri Krishna. So that we will see next Monday. We'll meet at 11 o'clock Indian Standard Time as we continue with the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tomorrow morning, of course, we meet at 4:30 a.m. for the Shikshashtakam prayers and chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we'll meet at 11 o'clock as we continue with the study of Ramayana. Right? We are in the very auspicious pastimes at Panchavati. So we request devotees to join at 11 o'clock Indian Standard Time as we continue with the study of Ramayana. We'll do Harinam Sankirtan and then we will end. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय गौरानिताय जय जय जगन्नाथ जय जय बलदेव जय जय सुभद्रा जय जय सुदर्शन जय बाल गोपाल जय रुक्मिणी विठल जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय रुक्मिणी विठल जय राधा कृष्ण जय राधा मदन मोहन राधा गोविंद राधा गोपीनाथ श्री राधे जय राधा माधव राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा कुंज बिहारी श्री राधे जय षड्गोस्वामी जय गुरु परंपरा जय प्रभुपादा जय गुरु देवानिताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय कलियुग विदित पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री गुरुदेव की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय हिताय गौर प्रेमनंदे हरि हरि बोल वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय हिताय गौर प्रेमनंदे हरि हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा थैंक यू सुब्बाराव प्रभु शोभा माताजी कर्पगुली माताजी श्रीमती श्यामप्रिया माताजी ओके राजेश्वरी माताजी सर्वगोपीश्वरी माताजी हरजीत माताजी नवकिशोरी माताजी अर्चना श्री राधा माताजी राकेश प्रभु दिव्या देसाई माताजी okay lot of new people today I don't know it's because of Zoom ID or what Madhu Manjari Mataji Deval Mataji Krishnamurti Prabhu thank you for joining in and yeah we'll meet tomorrow morning 4:30 a.m. until then happy chanting and happy performing devotional service. Hare Krishna.